systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Wednesday PGA DFS show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Hoopster here with me as always. Going to break down the Wyndham Championship. We're going to get to it. There's a lot of weather that people want to talk about. I saw some good comments in the chat. We're going to try and find the edge, talk some game theory, go through with what we do know. But Hoopster, bring you in, man. We got a lot going on over at the Nation, too, right now that we're going to talk about shortly as well. But what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Yeah, interesting week. Obviously, last week of the regular season, then we roll into the playoffs. So the last full field event for us to play DFS-wise, and then it gets down to a bunch of no-cut events, and then it's like the last week's only like 30 dudes, which is pretty difficult to find an advantage. So this is the last week full field. And of course, probably the worst week potentially for weather. I know a lot of people are already talking about it in the chat, but it looks like a legitimate chance for washouts on Thursday and Friday. I mean, it looks like potentially they can get out there Friday afternoon, but not looking good with the tropical storm rolling through. So kind of have to wait and see. The one thing I will say is the PGA Tour has done such a good job managing the weather this year. I mean, I'd be shocked if they didn't fuck it up.
I think it was our guy GS Luke had it. Shout out to Luke. He had it in the chat today over in our Discord saying like, you know what's going to happen? They're not going to say shit. It's going to be, we got to delay it till this time tomorrow. Like we all know there's no golf.
For 48 hours, they're just going to push it back an hour at a time. We'll give you an update at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll give you our next update at 11 a.m. Eastern. Just roll it all the way through to
that's what
Saturday
they do.
morning.
Nuts. But, it's crazy. Either way, we're going to get to it. I mean, it's just it goes with the theme of the next 3 weeks being these small field, kind of got to just let the weekend happen. And to get to the golf this weekend, we may have to wait till the weekend to get the golf. So it'll go with that. Shout out to Razor Sharp. First in hours ago. Ben Jizzy, a little closer to time. Notes again, wins a lot. Our guy Nuance, who had a big giveaway win last week. Shout out to him. But everyone joining us, we appreciate it. Rin right away in here with the EVR plug. So we see that one. Everyone knows what he's talking about already. Scooter McGavin, I like this comment, said so much added variance. Let's try and find a way to take advantage. We'll talk some of that in a second. I'm going to pull up the weather and go through all of it when we do hop into it. The AM PM wave conversations already coming up. My guy Brian says, I love PGA DFS, but golf has nothing to do with why I make sure to watch this show every week. Perhaps the best show weekly for PGA DFS game theory. That is what we try and focus on. And you don't have the picks, you don't have the plays. That's the thing. And then Nick always says the jokes. Anyone hear anything about weather this week? Yeah. So we'll get into it. We'll break it all down and more. But before we do, Hoop, I'll let you start it off. We did do a couple things. I'll say the first one. I'll let you talk about the main one. But just a note on our NFL early bird all access package. A lot of people hopping in on that. We appreciate the support. Obviously, the season less than a month away now. But if you want to take advantage, we did extend the offer. So we kept the $299 up on the site. It's the first thing you see when you pop onto it. It expires September 5th. And all that happened was you were getting 2 months of all access free. Obviously, that's down to just under a month now of all access. But if you do sign up for the all access early bird package, you still get a month of all access for free. And this was just a breakdown versus the competitors. If you are getting in the streets for NFL DFS and you didn't know, now's the time. We've got it for $299. Our optimizer, which we'll talk more on in a second, Shiptimizer, is up and running. More on the NFL one in a second, but it's just price-wise, the most affordable, the most valuable. I'll bring up everything else we got going on, college football included as well. But big news this week, I'll bring it up. We did full launch for Shiptimizer, our own optimizer that we have now.
Yeah, so in terms of NFL package, we kind of talked about it. And we kind of set a date that we were going to take this deal away, and we talked about it. And the whole time we had always said, the earlier you sign up, the better this deal is going to be, because the day you sign up is the day you start getting all access for free. Not obviously just NFL. You don't have to sit around and wait till NFL season starts to take advantage of this deal. You have full access to our website. You sign up today, you have full access for the MLB content that's going to go up today. You have full access for PGA content. That is, a lot of it's already up on the website. You'll have full access for the UFC contests that are coming up And the UFC 305, I believe, is next week, and you'll have full access to that. So access to everything leading up. It includes college football, like we talked about. College football starts before NFL, so don't wait till week 1 of NFL to sign up if you're going to play college football. So there's so many reasons to get in now opposed to waiting. It's just a better deal for you. If you know you're going to be with us for the NFL season, it makes sense just to sign up now. You can take a look at what we have to offer, including the Shiptimizer that you talked about. Fully launched it. So now is the time. I mean, no need to wait till NFL if you're going to be with us. You can take a look at some of the other. A lot of our content is very structured sport to sport. So a lot of the things you see in MLB, you're going to see in NFL. A lot of stuff you see in MMA, you're going to see in NFL. The Stone, like you have highlighted there, our core report, player pools, projections, all that stuff. So you can kind of get familiar with the content in terms of how it's going to be structured for NFL season. No better time now to sign up, and we're very excited. I mean, very excited for not only NFL but everything else that we have to offer.
I'm going to show it off quickly for the timestamps, people. We'll remind you again, if you want to jump ahead, you can. We're going to go through this very quickly, but want everybody to know about it because it is fresh. It just launched. There's lots of deals. We had some early bird specials, all of that. But Kenny, you can use it on mobile. We said it from the start, though. I mean, obviously, that'll be something that we focus on over time. If you're in our Discord already, shout out to our guy, Lee Aldrich. He does the free value report that you can go check out there on the site. And he broke it down. He actually did a video. It's pinned in the PGA DFS channel where you can go check how to create 150 lineups, download them on your phone, upload them through DraftKings directly, and just that easy in like a matter of minutes. So just to note that. And then obviously when we started this thing, we said we would have everything you need. We did switch. We did get, the optimizer that we didn't have. That was something that we thought we needed. Just so you guys see here now, it is all priced out. It is all broken down, all of the specials and whatnot. But if you need just all access, you can get it here. If you want all access plus the optimizer, it's all priced in here. And then if you click the single sport, you can get the deals. Obviously, the best deal right now is the football special. $349 is on for $299. As you saw on the front page of the website, you just click here. Shiptimizer is included. And we're going to show a little bit of that later for PGA, just so you guys can see it and check it out. One more quick note, if you are a member already, we did post the MLB Shiptimizer tutorial today. So if you go to the 3 dots, the drop down on the site, you can go to tutorials. You'll find MLB Shiptimizer. It's 23 minutes. Breaking down all the most important stuff on how you can use Shiptimizer for that. If you're an all-access member, if you've signed up for the NFL package to get everything all-access right now, you can use all of these. And the last thing I'll say, because we're doing this quickly today, but just to note it, NFL, we are looking to get it on there well in advance. We're in the final stages of getting that up and ready now. It'll be available for Classic and Showdown. Our hope and our goal is to put the dummy projections in because we don't have the official ones yet, but we have official pricing for those slates. So we're going to put some dummy projections in so we can do a bunch of tutorials. You can get used to it as a member and start figuring out how to use this thing the best to your advantage. So more on that to come, but just wanted you guys to know that up front, and we'll talk about it later. We'll show off the first initial projections of ours that are in. We didn't put our ownership in yet. We do that on Wednesdays, but we will show that off. Hoop, anything else you want to add on that before we get to the Wyndham Championship?
No, I mean, just very excited. I mean, the one thing I always kind of go back to when talking about the product that we're now offering is our goal is always to get to the point where we could say that we're in all-encompassing DFS content site and, rolling into this NFL season, I think we've really accomplished that with the addition of Shiptimizer, the changes that we've made there, and our content offering overall. So, now we're at the point where I can feel very comfortable saying this is the only spot you need to be. And luckily for you, it is the most affordable, lowest price in the industry. You start comparing us to our competitors, which we have that chart that we show on these shows. That's no shit. That's no bullshit. Like, that's directly coming from their websites. We took the prices, and I mean, in some cases, you're paying almost 3 times what we're going to charge for NFL season. You look at us, 300, which includes the optimizer, competitor A. $425. That's an extra $125 you could be spending in DFS contest this NFL season. $569 for competitor B. That's about $280 that you could be spending in additional DFS contests, and continues to go up with competitor C and competitor D. It doesn't stop. Best value in the industry, more money for you to put into DFS contests this football season, opposed to handing it over to these content sites.
Yeah, we're almost done the 10-minute mark, so I'll say it quickly, but under $100, like we promised, $99 gets you all access plus the optimizer for all the sports we cover it. any features we add and everything we bring. And then Kenny, I appreciate you. You brought this up. I forgot this. If you go to Shop Education NFL, members have full access. So when you sign up, you get this as well. But Hoop and I recorded this, a 4-hour NFL DFS course that breaks down how to get your own process. Even if it's a refresher for you guys, you can check it out. Roster construction, live finals. I was talking to my buddy about this last night. I had a friend come in town and he'd said, like, it's pretty crazy. He's a fan as well. And he said, you guys talked about the Fantasy Golf World Championship on your course, and then you guys actually made it all the way to the finals. You not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. So just little things. I wasn't even thinking of that, but I thought it was cool to share that he spent extra time helping people learn. There was tons of people. Newlands was right there. He said education course the nuts. He was in the Fantasy Golf World Championship, almost made it to the finals with us. So yeah, enough's enough. Little things like that. You can never get too much education, like Kenny says, but let's talk Wyndham Hoop. Let's get into this weather because it's not going to be a cop-out for us. I know other shows are looking at you say, oh, the weather, this and that. But at the end of the day, you got to look what's in front of you. This is just the basic forecast. I'm bringing this up for 2 seconds to show you that Saturday looks pretty clear. Now, it's going to be waterlogged because of what you see here. But if you just go quickly to the super forecast and scroll down, Wednesday, rain a little bit leading up. But look at Thursday, right? This is really what we're focused on here. Just an absolute ton of rain coming down on Thursday, high winds, crazy gusts, all of that. And then on Friday, the rain, it's going to be waterlogged, and then there is still some rain and then potentially more rain later on. So what's your first take on this, or how are you sort of treating this hoop just before we get into breaking everything else down, because the weather is the topic of discussion?
Well, yeah, I joked in the opening saying, I feel comfortable because the PGA has handled the weather situation so well this season, but that was a joke. They've been a disaster with it. So, I mean, it is so hard to pinpoint what the hell they're going to do this week, based on this report. And it's not like it's just rain, it's wind, it's a lot of rain, tropical storm essentially rolling through. So, if I told you I could predict what the PGA Tour is going to do, I'd be lying, because they probably still at this point have no idea what they're going to do, and wouldn't be surprised if we get hour by hour updates all the way through without them just saying, all right, we're going to start at this point. So it's very hard for DFS purposes to pinpoint what is going to happen. And for me, I am just going to build my teams. I know some people are saying, maybe we go AM, PM, because we think the AM guys aren't going to get out there until Friday afternoon when the course is going to be very soft. I get that, but course with this much rain, I'd imagine the course is going to be very, very soft all weekend long. And they're going to have lift clean in place all weekend long as well. So just very hard to pinpoint. If you are playing this week, I think you just play your guys and go, maybe again, I always say this, and it's not a cop out by any means, but it's like, if you typically do wave stacks, continue to do wave stacks. Maybe one of these sides finds an advantage, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew which side it was going to be. I'm just playing it straight up, playing my guys, and we'll see what happens. But to try to predict what the PGA Tour is going to do in these weather situations, doesn't make too much sense to me, because they have fucked it up all season long.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a couple things quick on, and then we'll move on. But just to say it, like somebody talked about, one thing I always got to bring up. So a couple things I know about this event, many others do as well, but just to bring it up, like, is this a time to focus on some of the peeps that need to get into the FedEx? Like, the playoffs are a thing. You can go look up the standings on the site. One of the things I know and remember from playing DFS for many years is there's a reason all these guys are on the outside and they almost never get in. It's, it's very minimal a number of these guys get in. So if you're trying to stack up your lineups, it becomes more of, picking and choosing your spots. And if that's really the reason, well, how are they just all of a sudden going to become good this week when the motivation's on? It's just a cop out. It's a content thing. It's awesome to know. It's good to note, but there's going to be people that someone will say, yep, knew it. They were on the line. They did what they needed to do and they fought their way in. But on the same flip of the coin, there's going to be 3 or 4 guys that had the same thing in front of them that didn't get in. I've had these conversations.
Such a good point, man. That's a very good point. Very good point.
Right. So it's definitely that. I will say that for sure. I'll say another thing, though. In the past at this event, there's almost always been rain leading into it. Nothing like this. I forget who put it out there. I thought it was pretty funny because dad joke, but said, the Hurricane Debbie or whatever, said it's a real Debbie Downer this weekend. And it's sort of part of it. I laughed for a second, but just to note it, there's often been rain leading into this event just from the area that it's in and all that sort of stuff. So it was often lift clean in place. And AM PM actually came out ahead quite a few times. There was one year, I think 9 of the top 10 finished out of the AM PM because of that. They come out with the lift clean place They get their opportunities. They go low early, and that sets themselves up for a pretty good Friday, because in a real world, I know we're talking about golf maybe not even starting till Friday or Saturday here, but just to note where it's not like this course gets super hard, where, you know, when you used to see courses like Torrey Pines or something where you're playing a hard course one day and an easier course the next, that good start doesn't always carry over, because now you got to go play a tough course on Friday, or vice versa. Everyone works differently. But on a course like this, that really good round can be sort of a perfect spot for you. So I will note that, but I think it's also reminds me of the players that we all got wrong with, like Anirban Lahiri down the stretch and all those guys, and Cam Smith or whatever, getting the job done. That was one where we went for a wave stack, didn't get it right, and it ended up being the other one. I'd be fine going with both, because there is a chance Friday afternoon is better, and your AM guys that get out there, or do get out there in this case, let's just use this example, end up going off. And then everyone on Saturday still gets the same, but this could be one of the best spots out of the gate, possibly. The alternative is if you flip it, is what if they don't get out there till, or what if the afternoon is a little bit rougher as this forecast shakes out? They end up getting put out in a little bit of the worst stuff because PGA is trying to force it and get them out there because they got to get through it over the weekend. It's an important event still. And then the guys on Saturday morning who are the end up being the PM guys get the real good conditions with the cleanup crews and all that stuff that sort of sets them up for a little bit better Saturday. So if you are going to stack waves, it is a spot I would recommend stacking both, just to make sure you're covering your angles, because there is an opportunity with, that's why I started with Saturday looking so good, where it does end up better for those that get out there on Saturday. So if they get out there on Friday, it could be an afternoon that's not as strong. So anything else you want to add on the weather before we get into this?
No, I think they're very strong points there for sure. And then, yeah, with the playoff stuff, I fully agree with you. I mean, that's the talking points where people will claim victory on both sides, and it's like, that shit's super annoying.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring this up as we go through it today, just so people can see it. It's the new optimizer. It's our optimizer, Shiptimizer, the optimizer designed to help you ship. There is features and whatnot built in that I'll show throughout the show, but we'll use this to go through our tier soup, because we're starting here. One quick note, and we are aiming to have it by end of day, if not tomorrow, first thing, and it will be better for Showdown and for over the stretch and getting you guys set up for success. But the number one ask was to get tee times on here, and we are going to have the round one tee time, so that if you want to sort it by the starting tee time and get your AM guys, you can X out all those that aren't on it. You can default everyone to 0 and just turn on the guys' minimum exposure for the ones you do want to play from the morning wave. Once you sort it, it's going to end up in here somewhere where you'll have the actual tee times right on our optimizer. So just note that as well. But Sungjae Im down to Siwoo Kim. We got 4 guys in this 10K range. Billy Horschel obviously hurt some feelings last time out. He was the late WD after the run at the Open he made, and then had to go there till Tuesday and then withdraw after lock. But Sungjae, my guy, down to Siwoo Hoop. What are you doing up in this 10K and above range?
Yeah, the first thing that stands out is cheap price tags. Like the top price is 10.7. It's going to be easy to play multiple, probably of these guys. I mean, let's say if you go Sungjae and Siwoo, you still have 7,300. So again, I think it's another week where we see inflated ownership at the top because of how easy it is to play multiple guys up here. That's the one takeaway in terms of pricing, roster construction, game theory. You are going to see, builds that start with 2 10K guys. For me, I like Sungjae. I like Lowry way more than Horschel and Kim. I'll probably just fade Horschel again. I got talked into him last time. I don't think I'm getting talked into him this time. If Horschel beats me at 10-2, I'll take my medicine and move on to the playoffs. Siwoo, I have more interest in, but I really don't know how much I'll get of him. But I'm fine playing some of him. He's got good course history here, but I really, really prefer Sungjae and Lowry. I guess, Horschel, a fade for me. If I have to take less Siwoo Kim to get more Lowry and Im, I'm going to go that route. So strong preference to those 2 at the top, Sungjae and Lowry, no Horschel, and then moderate interest in Siwoo up here. But again, in terms of roster construction, which we like to have those conversations, not just the picks and plays. It's easy to play multiple of these guys. Whenever it's easy to play multiple, I think we see inflated ownership. People want to fill out all the salary that they have. So if they, play Sungjae and then put in a few values and realize they can come back up and get another guy, they're going to do it. So should see some big ownership on these guys up top because of how easy it is to play multiple in the same lineup.
Yeah, and I'll have it later in the slate plan broken down, but I actually disagree on one point. It's just as easy as it is to do, math is math, as our guy Degenerate75 likes to say. And when you get down to the 8K range with Aaron Rye and Bezadenhout getting as much ownership as they are in that 8K range, it just, unfortunately, you won't see as many double stud lineups as you may think, because you can't play 2 studs and the 2 8K guys comfortably. So it's like, that's kind of a part where there will be tons of double stud lineups. I'm not saying there won't, but I'm saying I think more people go Sungjae Harman or Sungjae with 2 of those 8K guys or whatever, where it still disperses it a little bit. And you can kind of do what you want up here, but I agree with you on the guys you're mentioning. I think, starting something like this, I know both these guys, if you are playing some AM lineups, both these guys start to, we didn't get to talk. We haven't talked since that one. That was a bad scene for a guy.
I gotta pay up. Fuck yeah, that's right. I gotta figure this out. Yeah, I'm gonna do it on. I gotta do it on Twitter, because I can't do it live on the show here, because I don't want to, make a mess of my office. So I'm gonna have to get a Twitter video out. Yeah, that's a good point.
The shoey, we need the hoop shoey.
I know,
man.
it's coming. It's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna be outdoors. Maybe after I cut the grass. Actually, I cut the grass this morning, so I am grilling this evening, so maybe today's the day. We'll see. But I am going to get that.
Day. That'd be nice. Okay. Thanks. Shout out to Andrew for keeping you honest here. I love that.
Yeah.
But that was a tough scene. We got some good some memes out of it. We got all kinds of stuff.
I think once I started thinking through it, I was like, man, I'm not saying like we're moving ownership in big numbers, but once that tweet kind of picked up steam, I was like, yeah, I'm fucked no matter what. Like there's no.
I think you moved it the other way.
Hell no.
You made it seem like it was such a bad play at that ownership that
his ass. He did suck. He did end up sucking too, which is the funny part about it all. Did he miss the cut? Can't remember.
Remember now, but I remember the number was just really bad. And people, Rin says that people never forget memes. That's right. This is the feature too, but you mentioned but it's pretty cool. You put those 2 guys in. Obviously, it's got it all right here for you. So we call it the hand build feature, because sometimes people just want to build one lineup or see sort of what dictates what. And if you go this way, you can see, like you said, 73-25 remaining. Now you can start to see how construction is going to go, and you can just turn that off when you don't want it there and play around with it from there. But I tend to agree with you. I think if they're not doing double stud and if they're not doing the 10K with 2, I guess I'll do the cheat build quick just before we do the 9K range, just to show you an example. With like Rye, Bez, you still have the same 7,300 left. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm thinking, just based on their ownership. So they might end up being closer than I think on the combos of those, the dual stud versus the stud with 2 8Ks. But they'll be pretty common both ways, I think. But just wanted to bring that up before we get into
and I don't think that's going to be like the most common build. But I guess my point more so the fact that it's easy to do, and that is going to make the ownership on those guys higher than it typically would be. If these guys were all in the 11K range, you'd be looking at much lower ownership. The fact that it starts at 10-7 and you can play multiple of these guys in the lineup is going to mean that Sungjae, Lowry, their ownership's going to come up for that reason, because it's easy to do it. No, it's just, it's something I'm very passionate about. And, I do only cut the grass once a week, but I guess if you did watch these shows, you would think it possibly meant something else, because we do hit on it quite a bit.
Yeah. Very played out at this point, but I agree. We probably get, I think we've already got 3 or 4 in the comment section. So we'll get to Aaron Rye more in a second, but Hoop, I think in the 9K, it looks more like this. I will say, just an early look, because of what you brought up with those guys up top, Sungjae, Lowry, Siwoo for sure, at least getting some ownership. Maybe Billy Horschel scared some people away, but even he still gets some, I bet you, just because the way it sets up. It does look like Cam Young, Spieth, maybe Min Woo, like those 3 sort of look like guys that are going overlooked in the 9K. So is there any thoughts on just using these 9K guys and skipping the 10s, or do you think it's just going to be common just to see Sungjae Harman starts and stuff like that? What are you seeing here in this range?
Yeah, I think, more some question marks here. I think Min Woo at 9K is going to be a question mark for a lot of people, something that a lot will tend to avoid. He had the miscut at the Open Championship, 770, third at the Genesis, T22 at the Olympics. He's a name people won't love. Spieth, a lot of question marks. I definitely not clicking that name. And then Cam Young is one that I do have interest in, just because, I don't know, we've seen him just get absolutely scorching hot with these, super low rounds. And, he's kind of turning the corner a little bit. 9th at the Travelers, 6th at the Rocket Mortgage, and then 31st at the Open Championship. So I don't mind him. I think at 97, people will look to avoid it. But the 3 that I like the most, Harman, I'm going to continue to play Davis Thompson. And then Batia, I think, is just he has the game that can kind of be successful on any sort of course. I know this one might not necessarily set up for him all that well, but he's a guy that especially in these weaker field events, like I just want to be on him. I think his overall talent is better than a lot of these guys. So those are definitely my favorite, Harman, Thompson, and Batia right there at 93, 92, 91.
Yeah, I like this play here too. Joshua brings up, like, pick your guys down low and pivot up top. It's kind of where I lean this week. It's tough to say who it's going to be from these ones up here, but I think there's just a lot of talent that could just pop up at any given moment. You mentioned a couple of them, and I just put this build up. We were doing this during the NFL shows last season with our optimizer partnership. Nice to have our own just to be able to go through this now, but just to show it, like, you just bet on a couple talented guys in Cam Young and Batia, and then you throw in a popular guy like Rye. I'm just throwing him in because I know he'll be popular here. You actually have 7,500-ish remaining, right? Almost 7,500. You can get away from that sort of mid sevens range. You can go high, low. You can go an 8 and 2 lows and skip that range. Like, you can do a lot of different things here where now you don't even get into the 7K range, but you have 4 golfers where others are trying to make it work in that. So I think from a roster construction perspective, Hoop, some of this stuff can be pretty interesting if you can trust and just bet on talent as opposed to all the other factors people are going to throw your way when it comes to what you're hearing around the rest of the industry.
Yeah, most people will start with someone 10K or above for sure. And, making that one little pivot makes you immediately different. And then by making that pivot, you can be less focused on ownership of the other guys. You can just play the guys that might be a little more popular in that sort of scenario.
Yeah, and I want to see too, because we're going to get there in a minute anyway, but like right now between, I guess it's part of the math is math conversation, but it doesn't seem like, English, Vegas, Poston, Mitchell, EVR, like some of these guys don't seem like they can get too popular. Yeah. And if you look at this setup with 7,800 left, you can play Bobby Mack, 2 big wins this season. Vegas coming off a win, you still have 7,450. That's still above the average. Again, you're just putting some talent into your build. So I can see it where these types of builds just go completely overlooked. And if there is carnage or however you're setting up your builds, this would be a hot start versus the way most are going to start. I think Andrew just mentioned it. If you got like Sungjae Rai with 7,600, that's going to be way more common than those 3 guys we just had plugged in with pretty much the same number left on the table. So I don't know. I just see some different builds here that you could do. And then if you are going to factor in weather, tee time, stuff like that, then you can sort of put the puzzle pieces together that way too, if that's part of your process. So other talent, Luke Clanton dropped down from 9,100, made fun of that a couple weeks ago there. So there's Luke Clanton at 86, Keegan Bradley, 85. He's now the President's Cup co-captain as well. So he's getting into the mix too. Dietrich, 8,400. Like there's some guys in here. Mav McNeely. I just think if people go to 8K guys, if they go to 8K, because like you said, if they end up going up top to Sungjae and Lowry, let's say, you're not really getting 8K guys in there. Like if you put those guys and Rye, you can. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you're probably not getting as many of these builds. This would be a little bit different than what most are doing with their 210K builds. But if you go down here, it's like if they're going to 8K guys, it's probably Rye and Bez or 1 or less. So if you can get to 3 8K guys here you feel comfortable with, even if it is in the lower end, you have 8,500 on average left with, I just put in Nikolai, McIntyre, and McNeely. And let me go back up for a second to Sungjae. I still have 7,350 left. And now remember in the beginning when we showed you when the average was 7,325, you had to fill out 4 spots with 2 studs. This has 4 golfers that are 8K and above, and you only need to fill out 2 spots with the same average. So while you're landing in the same zone, you're landing there with different build altogether by having 3 8K guys. So if you can get behind that or find something you like there, I'd have no problem with that as well. Anything else you want to add on the 8K range, Hoop? If not, we can take it into the upper 7s here. We've got more golfers than we've seen in some of these past weeks. Yeah. Kitayama down to Dunlap, Taylor Moore, McCarthy, and Jaeger.
Yeah, that range that you kind of hit on, like the English, Vegas, Kitayama, Post, and Mitchell. Yeah, that range is going to go a little overlooked just because there are popular guys above them. Aaron Rye, like we talked about. Seabass, I think he gets some ownership. McIntyre's had the wins, Hogard, McNeely, all playable guys. And you come down to this range, it's kind of like a little bit of a dead man's range. And I'd be lying. Like, I'd be lying if I said I liked many of these guys. I do like Poston. I'll take a chance on Poston on a course where you have to find fairways. I mean, he has not been great, don't get me wrong, but I will give him a look at that $7,900 price tag. Keith Mitchell at 78 has not been good. I'll probably pass on him. And then I know Rin's not going to like this, but man, EVR is a guy I just cannot like. Yeah, I know everyone has their guys like that they love and they have nailed. Like I just cannot figure him out. So like I'm staying off of him. So sorry to tell you that, Rin. I can't do the EVR stuff anymore. But you start coming down, then you get these guys that people are going to want to play. Eric Cole finally showing signs of life at 7,700. He's made, it looks like 5 straight cuts, a 6th at the Rocket Mortgage, 7th at the John Deere, and then at the Open, 31st, which is solid finish for him at the Open. My guy, Max Grazerman, continues to play very, very solid golf. 21st, 31st, 26th, 21st, 13th, and then 2nd at the 3M Open. And I must mention at the 3M Open, his 2nd place finish, he was also labeled the most disrespectful price tag in the field and got the job done for us there. So him at 76. Jaeger's a name that people like to play. McCarthy. Mackenzie Hughes has been playing pretty good. Svensson at 74. Ben Griffin. Doug in. There's so many guys here that people are going to want to play. So that upper 7K, lower 8K range is definitely going to go overlooked. There's just a ton of playable dudes here. Victor Perez, Adam Hadwin, Fishburne, I don't mind. Mac Meisner, people love playing him, 71. Andrew Novak, 7,100. And I'm just going to go ahead and label him right now as this week's most disrespectful price tag in the field. He's been great. 14th, 20th, 7th. Not great at the Genesis, but 24th at the 3M Open, only 7,100 in a pretty weak field. Like, sign me up for sure. Novak's definitely most disrespectful price tag this week. Hubbard, I always like playing in these weaker field events. Griot, Putnam. There's just so many guys in this lower 7K range that you can play. And it's one of those situations, I think, where we always talk about where there's so many playable guys, ownership just has to get spread out in this range. And I think that's what happens, which makes it nice for roster construction because you really don't need to factor in ownership all that much because all these guys are going to get a little bit and no one's really going to get a ton down here. So very strong range, and I'm sure there's more playable guys down here as well. But I think the lower 7's much more popular than the uppers.
Yeah, and there's 42 guys. Jake Knapp withdrew. I can't remember if he was 7K or 6,900, but he's out. And so there's 42 guys still in the 7K range, and I don't see very many getting to double digits. Maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then if it's 3 of them, one of them is probably pretty low, like a 10.1 or something. Like, it just feels that way from what I'm seeing early on. And then the other thing was, too, just brought up about this, like Rin brought it up, actually, but like a lot of those guys in the lower 8Ks coming over from the Olympics, do you have any concern on that? I obviously don't factor that stuff too much. I know it'll just be a great excuse. Same as we knew Billy Ho would have no chance in WD, but we didn't know that Sam Burns would play just fine and finish T12 after he blew up on Sunday at the Open. So it's, you never know. It's just a content cop-out. I'll continue to call it that now. It's my new thing, but it's, you can say one thing for one person and completely ignore it for the other. That's why I'm talking about roster construction, how to attack the field, how you can actually win a tournament versus who your plays are and what you do with them and all that. It's not who you play, it's who you play them. I've stood by that forever. It's who cares about the Olympics thing. That's just going to be an excuse if it goes bad for them. If it goes good, though, that's the whole point. So it's kind of like the setup. How are you building your lineups? What are you doing with it that gets you different from the field? And what field are you in? That's another thing that people don't talk about enough. Like, it matters so much more if you're in a 5K Thunderdome with 10 people playing the chalk, absolute, play the best plays, etc., versus when you're going up in a large field against 137,000 people at a major in a Millie Maker or something like that. So I don't know. Anything else you want to add there, Hoop? If not, we can move on. But I just want to bring that up as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Olympic stuff, I mean, that's like trying to get in somebody's head and figure out like where they are mentally. I get like the travel concerns or whatnot, but you're talking like 4 days after. Like, I mean, I'm assuming after 4 days they're able to recover. And this could even be more. Someone posted in chat. I mean, if this doesn't start till Friday afternoon or Saturday, they're getting even more time to consider. So if you're worried about it for travel purposes, they likely get additional rest here as well. So no, I mean, I'm not factoring that in. But again, there's so many guys in this range and so many playable guys. Man, there's a lot. I know I just rattled off the ones that kind of stood out to me, and just going through this list again, I think there's even more that I would potentially consider playing it if needed.
Yeah, and also too, for anybody that was looking at the wave stack stuff earlier, if you are going to play both wave stacks, It's really spread out this week. I just wanted to note that quickly while we were here, because just in the 7K range, it stood out, but then I scrolled back up. There was one couple weeks ago, I forget what it was, where we were trying to look at it. And we're like, well, shit, there's only 3 guys up top that are even in the right wave. I think it was the Billy Horschel withdrawal week where it was like, there's only 4 guys in the top or something that you could really get after here. You've got a pretty even split for AM, PM from 8,500 and up. And then even when you go into the 7K range, it's funny, the upper sevens are almost all AM wave, except for Jaeger and Mitchell, essentially. After that, it gets split up pretty wide. But in that lower 7K range, it's completely split. And what's the difference between some of these guys? Not much. And the ownership's low. You can just get a ton of leverage down here. So we talk about, mentioning it earlier, if you pick your guys, find your ones down here that you're comfortable with, and then mix some of these guys in up top, I'm okay with that. But if you, again, on the contrary, if you say, look, I don't know what to do down low, but I know I love Sung Jae this week, and I know I love Cam Young this week, well, then that's where you'd want to go the reverse of this, because you already know that they're going to come with Sung Jae is going to come with ownership for sure. Cam Young, not so much, but if he's your guy, I get it. I'm just saying, when you do that, that's where you can then sprinkle these guys down low instead. Again, not who you play, it's how you play them. If that's how you feel about it, I would do that, because all these guys down low are going to be 5% or less owned. Majority of them, like Doug Gim is going to get ownership. Maybe Ben Griffin a little bit. The Mac Meisners and Novaks of the world a little bit, but it's not enough to talk about. So I think you just should always factor that in when you're looking at it. Lots of different ways you can go about it here this week, and guys that you can use in this lower 7K range. It all comes down to roster construction. Let's talk about these sixes though, Hoop, because I'm looking at it here, and this is what I was trying to figure out when I was talking to you, but there is 89 guys in the 6K range. A bunch of them I think are completely unplayable, as most would, but who is playable to you? Who are some of the guys that stand out for you down in this range?
Yeah, a ton of guys down here. I don't think anyone gets much ownership, so nothing to worry about there. Olesen at 69, I don't mind. I've been playing Ben Coles. The results have been actually pretty impressive, I'd say, for Ben Coles. 56 at the U.S. Open, 20th at the Rocket Mortgage, 52nd at the John Deere, 46 at the Genesis, and then 24th at the 3M Open. So he's probably one of my favorites down here. Ben Silverman, Adam Shank, Pearson Coody, Nick Taylor, Lee Hodges. I'm interested in him a little bit. Matthew Neesmith at 67. Justin Suh has had a couple solid finishes in a row. 11th at the Barracuda, 19th at the 3M Open. I think you can take a chance on him. Gary Woodland, I don't think I've clicked the name at all, but last 2 events, made the cut at the Open Championship for 50th, and then at the 3M Open, 37th. Another weak field event. He's 6,600. I don't mind playing him. I'm not prioritizing him, but if I need more cheap guys, I'd throw him into the conversation for sure. And then after that, it gets pretty gross. I mean, there's not much that I like just looking down here. Patton Kizzire maybe at 64. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably limit it to, if I'm doing 150, I'd probably have 8 to 10 of these guys maybe at the most.
Yeah, and I was just trying to see too, but for me, probably the guys on the screen here that I'm kind of interested in right now, at least just to see who else. I will note, and we got on it right away, but not everyone put it in there, but Henrik Norlander got added to the field at 6,300. His betting odds were a lot better than the guys around him. Again, not that that's everything, but just to know. I
do like him. Yeah, that's a good point. I've been playing him, and the results have been good. And he's the type of guy that he gets things going. He can have some solid finishes, and that's what we've seen recently, 25th, 11th, and 12th. So I do like that call.
So just going to bring that. I mean, I'm not necessarily playing put them all together, but that's the thing. You can do quite a bit if you can get behind something like this. And just to put this lineup on the screen for a second, not going to complete it, but just to note, I actually don't hate something like this, because I just don't think it matters if you have Ben Coles and Neesmith over the 2 7K guys that you're going to pick at the bottom of the sevens. Whoever shows up, shows up. Your risk, which technically isn't even as risky when you see some of these odds, but Henrik Norlander would be considered the risk. But I would just classify Coles and Neesmith as the same as some of these guys in the lower sevens that, again, if you think they're upgrades, change them in your lineup and you still have tons of money to use. I'm just showing ways you can look at it differently where you can factor this in. I think a lot of people just instantly see the 2 6K guys and a third, and they think this necessarily means too risky. But if you are okay with Norlander, then I really don't see this as risky at all. I see this as fine. It's just, do these guys show up and do they score? That's really what it's going to come down to. So I think there's probably 12 to 15 guys in that low 6K range that you mentioned, Hoop, just some of the ones you talked about already. You mentioned Cole, Silverman, Shank, Nick Taylor, just for the potential of his talent. You go down, someone mentioned lower, scoring, 67 points plus or something, or 68 points plus. That's fine. Neesmith, who you talked about. Who else? Anybody else that I'm really super high on? No, not really, to be honest. So maybe less than I thought. Maybe 10 guys if I really, go through it with a fine tooth comb. But that's why I said to the guy earlier, I'm planning to pick my spots down low this week and then change it up top, because I just think mixing those guys in at an event like this would make a lot of sense. And there's lots of different roster constructions you could find within that. So anything else, Hoop, that you want to add? Anything from a roster construction perspective now that you've seen the whole slate? Just any grand scheme overview to round it out for you.
Yeah, I like that point that you talked about there at the end, with this build that you have up on the screen. I mean, there's really not much of a difference between these 6K guys and then like the lower 7K guys, which are going to probably get like much more ownership. So, playing a couple of these 6K guys over a couple 7K guys gives you a different roster construction. People have a fear of playing, a lot of times, a fear of playing multiple guys in the 6K range. And that will be the case this week because there's some pretty nasty names down here and people are going to feel much comfortable just getting up to the 7K range. So that's definitely one way to get different with roster construction, one way to play some of the more popular guys on the slate while getting a little bit different. So I think that is a very strong point. But the big talk is the weather this week, what's going to happen, no information at this point. I guess I'd probably be surprised if the PGA Tour lets us in on, any part of their plans, but definitely get in the Discord because we'll have you updated and we'll pass along any information that we do end up getting. But one final push here, one final full field event, then we head to the playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs are coming up the next 3 weeks. You mentioned already. This is our optimizer, Shiptimizer. We talked about the full launch of that. You guys can check it all out on the site. Go to shipitnation.com. Click Join the Nation. You can see all the pricing breakdowns. If you're looking for a certain package, you don't see it, something you might want, you can always hit me up on X at ToeTagginTambo. I'll try and help you out. But the football package is the key. It includes the optimizer. Shiptimizer is going to be built in for Classic and Showdown. It's going to have projections and ownership. The Stone, our main tool that we use for all the sports. Stack rankings, crushed last season. Showdown. Core report, slate plans, the education course we showed off earlier where you can go check it all out, where Hoop and I did a 4-hour course breaking down process, roster construction, everything. And then the big thing is free all access until September 5th and includes college football. So you'll get all of our stuff for college football, but just in the next month, which is sort of is, it's about a month that you get with us for free all access. When you sign up for this package, you're going to get all the PGA stuff that you're here watching now. Check it all out for that. The Showdown Streets, you can go see our X at SHIPIT Nation, see all the winners week in, week out. The community's been absolutely crushing. You're going to get all the baseball stuff they talked about earlier. Our guy Hebrew Cheetah, been on fire. Ham, the rest of the team out there doing tons of good stuff. Nades, Title, G Ryzen, BJ, all the guys, Scarface, everybody in the Discord just crushing it in MLB. And then you've got UFC 305 next weekend, NASCAR back this weekend. So, you're getting a ton of value for your money. If you're going to join for NFL anyway, the time to do it is now. Get the deal, lock it in for $299, and it gives you all access up until September 5th. At that point, you will get an offer to save money with our main all-access $999 package. Will be discounted for you on top of that package where you can apply the full $299 towards the package of your choice if you do decide that you want to switch to all access. So tons of good things that you guys can do. Like you could use it all access till the end of the month and say, I'm good with just 6 months of football. Like, I don't need the exact Super Bowl or whatever it might be, because it'd be what? September, October, November, December, January, February, March. It would still get you there if at the end of your month you switch to the 6-month annual and just put your $299 towards the $549 and get a deal that way. So, there's lots of different things you can do within this package, but that's the one. Any final thoughts, Hoop, on that? Or are we getting out of here? Are we good?
Good to roll.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit us up if you have any other questions. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.